Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly and welcome to this video in which we're going to be offering some tips on how to play par threes. Now the advice comes from Eddie Pepperell and we're here at Frilford Heath, which is Eddie's home course, and Eddie's going to play the first hole on the green course, a really tough opening hole. It's a par three and there's plenty to think about, and Eddie's going to share some of his advice not only on how to play par threes but also how to build your game plan to help you shoot the lowest score possible. Guys, if you're new to the Golf Monthly channel, please do hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of our videos. Hit the like button if you like what you're watching. But let's head out now onto the first hole of the green course here at Frilford to find out what Eddie's par three tips are. Right, Eddie, so first hole here on the green course at Frilford, your home club.
Yep.
Par three. Looks like quite a tough test actually for most of us amateurs. What's the strategy that you would employ on a hole like this?
Well, so interestingly, this used to be 17. So I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. We used to start on the par five, and then, which was a nice generous start, but now you start on the par three, which is quite a tricky par three. So yeah, narrow green, and yeah, I mean, I suppose sometimes the par threes can be the hardest start, you know, because you have to start with a pretty precise and pure golf shot. Reminded a bit of Lytham St Anne's there, you know, it's a very difficult start.
So let me ask you, firstly, what's the yardage? And secondly, what club are you going to hit?
So the pin's middle front, I think it's 185, I just bushnelled it. So into the breeze, so I'll hit a 6-iron. You know, it's about a good, yeah, I'll hit this about 190, 195 usually. So that's a good number, really. And one of the tricky things about a hole like this is picking the wind, isn't it? Because when you're playing in sort of tree-lined holes where the ball gets up above the tree line, it's going to move. How do you go about figuring that part of the shot out? Yeah, playing in the wind on an open golf course, so links golf courses in the wind are a lot easier than playing tree-lined golf courses in the wind. And that's because, you know, the wind tends to just float in and around of the trees, bounce off. You get so many confusing messages. It's tough to trust exactly where the wind is. So, you know, it's a caddy's nightmare, really, caddying for a windy day in the trees, which is what, you know, the Frilford is generally. So yeah, I suppose you've just got to trust it. I mean, here we're quite open-ish, so it's, you know, it's fairly obvious, but once you you know, once you start getting the crosswinds, then it's it can be even trickier. So how do you pick it then? So I always look at the tops of the trees, you know, and look at where they're blowing, because that's probably the greatest indicator of where the wind is. And then you've got to decide, you know, am I going to get the ball above the trees, and if so, how far above the trees? And then you just, yeah, it's ultimately then about trust, you know, and picking the flight, you know, really how much of the wind. So here, I mean, I've got 185 into the breeze. If I hit this too high, it probably isn't going to get there because it's going to catch too much wind. So I know I have to hit this on a pretty solid flight, forward enough so that it penetrates the wind for the most part. So it's, you know, there's lots of these things going on as a golfer that, you know, you've just got to be that extra bit more precise when it's windy, I suppose. Okay, yeah. All right. Show us how it's done. All right. I should probably say that Eddie's not hit a shot yet, no, so this is quite swing of the day. So we'll opening play. See how this goes. Oh, it's a bit skinny. So, a little bit skinny, but it's right. I think front edge. Actually, it's quite close. That's yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Right, let's see where it's finished. Right, so Eddie, we're up on the green, and before we talk about the putt that you're facing here, can I just ask you about the mindset that you've got when you're going into greens? Are you thinking at all about where not to miss, where's a good miss, where's not a good miss? Are you thinking about any of that stuff, or are you just sort of locking in, focusing on a sort of positive outcome? Yeah, I think most of the time, and probably all of the time, frankly, with an iron, especially if it's a scoring iron, you know, 6-iron and in, you're thinking quite positively. Unless the whole position and the green complex is so severe and it, you know, it's really in your mind and in your caddy's mind, well, you just can't hit it there, then you're gonna play away. But often you'll just pick a target 5, 10, 15 foot right or left of the flag and be committed to that spot. I personally have a hard time not hitting at every flag. I like, because my issue is when I hit a good swing on an iron, when I'm swinging well and hit my irons well, they go quite straight. So in my mind, I know a perfect swing is going to lead to a pretty dead straight shot. So if I'm not aiming at the flag, I find it really annoying because it's like, well, I can hit a great swing here and hit to 15 foot, whereas I know if I hit the same swing at the flag, it would go really close.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time not aiming at every flag, to be honest.
Has years on tour taught you that's not a good idea, or you know?
Not really. I mean, in some events, you know, if you're a US Open or some tournaments where, yeah, okay, it's pretty obvious where you maybe just not want to play to that flag. But most weeks, you know, the greens are receptive enough or the green complexes aren't so severe that you can take that approach and take the risk, to be honest. And I think you're picking your battles. If you're really swinging it well with your irons and you know that you're dynamite from a 7-iron in, then take those shots on, because if you stiff 2 or 3 iron shots in a round, you're gaining a lot of shots there on the field. So, yeah, I've always felt like you could be quite aggressive with the irons.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at the putt that you've got here, how do you go about reading putts firstly?
So, really, I like to look. This is a good example because this is quite a straight putt, but I would look at the last 4 foot, and I would let that dictate my read. So I can see from here really that it's a bit left to right at the end. So this putt is quite a straight putt to begin with, and then, you know, if I was to walk up closer to the hole, and I've heard Ricky Fowler talk about doing this when he reads putts, and I think it's a good way to read putts. You know, you come in closer and you see what's it doing at the end when the speed is slower.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen at the hole, and then you reverse your read back from there. So. That's a good way of reading putts. And then obviously you're always trying to just get a little look side on to see, is there anything there that isn't obvious to the eye in terms of uphill, downhill. So as you can see, it was just too firm, really. I mean, you know, it's gone, 4 foot past, so it's definitely too firm. I mean, actually, as it's finished directly behind the hole, so I got the read pretty right there. I just hit it too firm.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I'll give you that. I've been generous in the first hole.
That's very kind.
Okay, so there you have it. That was our video on how to play par 3s. Guys, before you go, please do hit the pause button and let us know what you thought about Eddie's game plan, his strategy, and the way in which he thinks about his game. We'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. And also, if you have any thoughts on how you manage the sort of tough par 3s that you play at your home course, I think it could be really helpful to share that information around. And finally, if you haven't done already, please do hit the subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss any of our videos. And if you've liked the video, please do hit that like button. But for now, from Frilford Heath, it's goodbye.